really hear you, Andrew.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 4 of the Boomtown Pod, your home for combat sports. Covering the latest news, information, and so much more in the world of combat sports. From boxing to mixed martial arts and professional wrestling, we've got you covered. Join Andrew Kahn, Cole Smith, and their special guests as they break down everything that you missed out on or need to know. Season 4, sponsored by FKN Beer Company. FKN, the funnest beer out there. Keeping the good times rolling one beer at a time. Grab your FKN Ale and FKN Booms, available at select liquor stores in Canada. Rest When Dead Clothing. Locally owned and operated with the very best in gym apparel. Check out restwhendead.ca or visit them in Moose Jaw at Hustle Culture Gym, 268 High Street West. Sandman Boxing System in Saskatoon, proudly representing since day one. Time now to go live for Season 4 of the Boomtown Pod, and it starts now.
Hell yeah, it does. Always got to thank Don Anders for that intro, man. I cannot wait to see that guy next weekend coming up at Palace Athena Women's Fighting Championship 3. I'm going to break that down and all the information you can have later on in the show, but I am, of course, your host, Andrew Kahn. It is episode 10 of Season 4. We are just getting going, folks. We are flying right now, and we got some special guests along the way, and including this man, and we'll get into that right away on who's joining us today. But we got to thank our episode sponsors first. Now, that wouldn't happen, and this wouldn't happen without the great people at FKN Ale, Sandman Boxing System, and Rest When Dead Apparel out in Moose Jaw, restwhendead.ca. Want to give a quick shout out to Aaron York and the crew. They have just opened up their brand new gym out there. So if you're in the Moose Jaw area, make sure to go check them out. Hustle Culture Fitness in Moose Jaw. Also attached to it is CEO Fit, which of course is a supplement store. Kicking the crap in the pricing department when it comes to your supplements. Make sure to go see them, restwhendead.ca. You can also order online at ceofit.ca. Now, again, you see the gentleman that's joining me today. I'm very excited to introduce this man. We met a while back. This is my very special guest today. This is Cory, the Irish Virus Chambers. Probably been a while since you've heard that nickname.
Yeah, it's been a couple years.
Coming from us live at the Green Dojo. You can see it in the background, of course, out in North Battleford. Cory, dude, how the hell you been?
I've been good, Andrew. Yeah, it was definitely a long overdue interview here. We've been trying to set this up for a couple of years, but I kind of went to hiding for a bit. Now I'm back out into the wild.
Oh, we love you out in the wild. It's a good look for you. Now, man, obviously we got lots to get into, so let's get into this right away because obviously me being a Muay Thai, an MMA guy, a boxing guy, I've been doing this for a long time, and I know that you've been doing this, and we'll talk about your professional career a little bit as well. But man, what made you want to start the Green Dojo itself?
Well, honestly, the Green Dojo's been around since basically I've been fighting, right? So the Green Dojo basically started like I was down training in Saskatoon, and I'd come back home and I'd train with a couple of my friends, and we kind of called it the Green Dojo. I'll let you fill in the blanks there on why we called it that. And then, every one of us that went on the train in the Green Dojo, we all went on and fought. Tyler, my friend who I started the gym with, he came on and became a professional fighter. And then, I went. Then when I moved to Saskatoon full time, and just started training at Shears Martial Arts full time. And when I come back home, we kind of had the Green Dojo, still a group of people here that trained. And then at COVID hit, when I moved back home, guess who didn't follow any COVID regulations? The Green Dojo. And then we kind of started all training here during COVID. And then I got a good little group going. And then it kind of, one day my friend Dallas reached out to me, who owns a CrossFit gym in town. And he owns a spin studio here too. And he said, I got a spot for you. You should think about, actually opening a little spot. And then I did. And it kind of just continued to snowball since that point.
Yeah, because when I first got introduced to you, it was right at that COVID era. Like, that was right at the start of that. And I was like, initially we had planned to fully, obviously, do the whole boxing thing. I was ready to come to the gym and do all of that with you guys.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the pandemic happened. I was like, shit, are we allowed to do these things? So
well, honestly, Tyler's dad was sick at the time. So I wasn't like I was blatantly not following COVID rules and stuff. And we just kind of had our small little window. And I just kept training at that. I honestly, the whole time during COVID, I trained probably more than I had before COVID.
Yeah, and that was the same as me. Like I was hitting the gym more frequently during COVID than most people would have done during a normal year. But I feel like it was just everything was. I mean, let's face it. Everybody was scared, right? Like that's the biggest thing that we got out of it. Everybody was terrified of what was going on. So it was cool to see that you succeeded throughout that, man, which speaks a lot to you and your dedication to the game. Now, a lot of people will probably want to know, like, what's a day at Green Dojo look like? Like, what can folks expect to learn? Like, do you take every aspect, the amateurs, the beginners? Like, what do you teach them? What's the fundamentals?
Yeah, I have all levels right here. I still got we have different people that come here. I got pro fighters that come, like Stu Fontaine stops in here all the time and trains. There's 3 pro fighters like me, Tyler, Matt Fedler have all fought professionally. Then we have kind of our amateur level fighters. We have a good little amateur fight team going on right now. I got someone coming to Brandon at March 16th, I think it is, in Lethbridge. And then the week after, I got a girl fighting on Unified. And then the next month after that, I got someone fighting at Rumble in the Cage. So our amateur fight team is actually super active. And then I have beginner programs too, right? I have all levels too. So we have our entry level classes and then we work our way up. And so I have level 1. I have a beginner class, a level 1 once you graduate from the beginner class. And then I have a level 2. And then we have kind of our fight team.
Right.
And then I also have a completely separate jiu-jitsu program that we've started. I have a girl running it. She trains down at MMA Center in Saskatoon. And she kind of runs the whole program here for me. And I got a youth program on jiu-jitsu. We just started up a couple months ago, so it's kind of growing. And then my youth Muay Thai and MMA classes I'm actually on people on the waiting list at that point.
That's crazy, dude. Because I remember when you said you were starting this whole venture and coming back to North Battleford, and you're like, I'm making this thing happen. And I was motivated as hell for you, man. It was pretty interesting. Now, you said that you do have a couple fighters that are going to be working on their amateur ranks through companies like Unified. What does that really mean for these people when they're coming through? You know what I mean?
Well, honestly, the amateur fight team scene is actually, it's really came to a dead stop here in Saskatchewan. So we've been traveling, even last week I was in Medicine Hat doing a Muay Thai tournament just because there's nowhere in Saskatchewan training. Since COVID, back to the COVID thing, it shut down the pro commission and shut down all events, and it's been struggling. So yeah, we're going to these events in Lethbridge and Alberta, traveling because where else do you go to get better if we guys don't if we don't step up to the plate and fight on these amateur shows? How do my guys progress and get better, right? I'm definitely a swim coach who likes to see my swimmers go in the pool.
Right. Right, 1,000%. I mean, honestly, and we all know because we'll get into it with you right now, obviously the professional side of it, right? So you go from that amateur rank and try to make that next step in that progression into the pro rank, which you have done yourself. Kind of fill us in how that went for you and kind of the shock and awe of moving up from an amateur to a pro card.
Well, yeah, I was pretty lucky because when I fought amateur, there was Saskatchewan amateur here. So, and there was no pro card. So there's honestly every couple of months, there's a couple amateur cards you could get on. And if you're motivated and did it, you could stay busy during that. So then by the time I continued to fight amateur, by the time that we finally had a pro circuit, I built my name up to here and actually got onto the pro card. And it wasn't like it was my first dance in the rodeo. Now we got guys we have no developmental system here in Saskatchewan. So it's kind of frustrating, right? So I was really lucky in my era. There was amateur fights every couple of months. And then I'm literally driving guys to Lethbridge or driving guys to Red Deer or driving guys to Edmonton. We're going to Alberta. We're going to BC, all these different events because Saskatchewan, what's up? They have no programs.
Hey man, I'm fully aboard with you on that one. Now, I'm a firm advocate. Obviously, I'm based out of Regina. I'm based out of Saskatchewan. I want to make sure, and one of the biggest things that I wanted to do with this podcast was take what people like you are doing and trying to push Saskatchewan, getting a bit of a push when it comes to being back in the MMA market. I remember, right before COVID happened, we were supposed to have a UFC card in Saskatoon. And I remember there was some hope there that, hey, we can get some amateurs out there. We get some pros from Saskatchewan. We get some people from Canada.
So here's the thing that happened, though, it was pretty cool that UFC came here and stuff, and then we had this pro commission. But that commission cost so much money that only UFC could really run events. You'd have all these guys doing these smaller shows. And then
it was leading medium, I know, absolutely.
And then it was they're doing these shows, putting all these work, like Saturday Night Fights, Modern Fighting Championship, just to break even, just to develop their athletes in the province. You got to give Adam Lorenz, AJ Scales, all those guys that risk their stuff just to develop athletes. And now we don't have that. We literally don't even have that option. We don't have a pro card. We don't have an amateur card. Saskatchewan's just in this weird limbo, and I hate it. It's just I hate it.
Oh no, and I agree fully. I mean, there's been times where I've had people reach out to me being like, "Hey, when is the next time that Saskatchewan's going to get a card? When is Saskatoon going to get a card? When's Regina, PA, North Battleford? Like, when is someone going to be able to hold an event again?" I'm like, I honestly,
So
the
it's
MMA
weird
scene
you're
is
bringing that
tough.
up because a bunch of coaches, we have this group chat going on, and it's like a bunch of coaches that don't even necessarily like each other, but everyone's kind of rallying together, being like, "Guys, what's up? Like, how can we get this going?" And it actually just started last week, and so guys are trying to look into, there's sambo events happening now down in Saskatoon, which is basically like light contact MMA, but in a gi with a weird rule set, and then there's continuous
Right, different.
kickboxing, and then there is also jujitsu, but it's like, how can we have something in between and have to develop MMA? That's where I'm just
Right.
getting on this thing. I don't know what's going on, where everyone's trying to like discuss what do we need to do to get like some kind of light contact developmental system here, rather than just throwing guys right into an amateur fight or a full contact fight.
Right. All right. So now we're doing it. We're pushing it. Let's get it goddamn going. Like I more than anything, man. And I'm working with a group called Palace Athena Women's Fighting Championship. And they're doing big things.
Where are they out of? Calgary?
They're out of Calgary. Yes. So they're doing huge things. And the owner, actually, one of the the owner of the commission
Ukrainian?
itself, which, sorry?
Is the owner Ukrainian?
Yeah, Clayton Volitsky. He's actually from Yorkton. So he
Okay.
has been talking to me back and forth, and we have this great, basically this great communication between each other every day, and we talk. He's a great dude, and we've just been trying to figure out. Like, initially, they're doing Palace Athena's 3, and they're doing it in Calgary again. But again, that comes down to the commission base, right? He wanted to have the fight card in Regina. He's wanted to have a Prairie card to showcase not only these female fighters to Prairie fans, but exactly, right? But the Prairies to the MMA world, because I mean, I feel like, again, I agree with you fully. You've got amateurs being trained with you. You got people that are ready to go now who might even want to take that step the next go around. And this is just so painfully staking that we can't get any support when it comes to the MMA aspect of Saskatchewan. Like, what is it going to take? What do you truly think it's going to take?
Well, there's a couple. It's a little bit mucky. There's a commission called the SMMA, which has been around for years, and they kind of have their own little like monopoly of some. I wouldn't say monopoly is not the right word, but like they kind of have their own insurance and their own kind of system going, and then they have their own. Okay, you can only do like contact. You can only have this other stuff, and then there's a bunch of other people trying to get something going, and so it's just mucky. And then there's no actual commission. So the Saskatchewan government needs to make like an amateur commission to regulate this. Like you see, we have boxing going on because boxing has a commission. Their commission never shut down, even during COVID. So you see Cole and stuff, he's able to stay active. You see them go to fight events every week. And like he's traveling too. I'm not saying Cole's not traveling for his fights, but I mean, he's also able to fight locally. There's fights in Saskatoon, there's fights in North Battlefords, there's fights in everywhere because boxing has a way nicer, better commission or active commission, and they're developing their athletes still.
Right. I agree fully with you. And like Cole and I were talking about that actually yesterday and today, to be honest. He's out doing the bare knuckle thing, I think out in Calgary this weekend as well, before I am next weekend.
Edmonton, isn't it?
But, sorry?
Edmonton?
Edmonton, yes, not Calgary. Yes, correct. Alberta. We're generally traveling way too much.
Well, not that. Oh, PETA. Shout out to PETA. He's fighting on that, my boy.
Yes, he is. It's awesome to see him do the work that he's doing with Sandman Boxing System, but I agree with you. It's crazy to think that, again, boxing, which, I mean, right now has become, it's picked up momentum again, it's streamlining again, it's doing its thing again, and it's taking full steam ahead. It just, at some point, I agree with you, Cory. I hope to God we can figure out this whole commission thing, and that we can actually, you and I, I'm pushing this just as much as you are, where we can be in the same room someday, actually holding an event and praying to God it works out, because, man, it's freaking time we bring MMA home to Saskatchewan, man.
Amen, buddy. Amen. And
So
to think, by the time that event happens, that card will be so sold out, and it'll be well worth it by the time that, because it is just everyone's brewing to have it.
Well, and that's exactly it. And people are going to travel. It's like a rider game, right? Like, you're going to have people that are going to come from Yorkton. You're going to have people that are going to come from Estevan. You're going to, like, everybody is dying to watch a fight. So hopefully we can make that happen. I'm hoping 2024 we can finally get something established, at least minimally by the halfway point, if not the end of the year.
I don't care about the pro commission ever coming back. I would really like to see an amateur program so we can develop athletes, and the pro commission is just icing on the cake if we get that after.
Yeah, it's the chef's kiss. And I mean, that's what we want for the amateurs right now because, again, showcasing them is huge in the development of, again, like you said, massive. All right, so while we're on the topic of MMA, boom, let's get into it because we got a big card coming up, UFC 299. This is one that people have been talking about. They say it's better than 300. I'm calling bullshit because you don't know 300. Massive card. Of course, we're going to be hosting that in Saskatoon at the Canadian Brewhouse. West location. If you haven't heard yet, can't wait for that. UFC 299, though, we got to get through that one first. So let's break down a couple of fights here. Let's start with the headlining fight. We got Sugar Sean O'Malley. He's basically become the face of the franchise when it comes to the UFC. People love him, man. This kid is just, he's TikTok famous. He's promoted himself well. He is the undisputed champ in the bantamweight division, and he's going to be taking on the guy who beat him. That's right. You might not remember. Chito Vera beat Sean O'Malley via leg kick. Folded him, buckled him. So what do we expect with this rematch? And I'll give you the floor first.
So I've been getting the gears from a lot of that. Oh, sorry, buddy. I've been getting the gears from a lot of the guys at the dojo here that we talk fights about, but I'm going Cheeto. I think same thing's going to repeat himself. Like, Cheeto doesn't buy into any of his hype, and I know it kind of looked like Corey Sandhagen was picking him apart, but MMA math isn't real. So I think the same thing's going to happen again, maybe just a couple rounds in between it. And Sean's got better that he's going to dance around, but I'm still picking my boy Cheeto, knocking out O'Malley. Same thing.
The knockout predict.
He'll break him. TKO him on the ground. O'Malley will quit. Same style. Makes him post and
absolutely love the comment here from Jared who's tuning in. The Sugar Show Commission says it's not a loss. Okay, well let me tell you, an L is still an L.
Yeah. I know he's undefeated, boys, and he'll do that. He'll still be undefeated after this weekend after he loses again too. So it's all good.
Yeah, you betcha. No, Chito Vera is probably one of the great, he's just such an underdog story, and I enjoy everything about him. I don't think there's really a glaring hole in Chito's game, and he has exposed a lot of people along the way, and I agree with you. That Sandhagen matchup, maybe not his best showing, but Chito is legitimate. Sean O'Malley, also super legitimate. I mean, there was a lot of questions when he was going to take on Aljamain Sterling, what was going to happen there, and we all saw what happened. It's just crazy because I thought Aljamain at that point was on a whole nother world. Like, he was dominating people, you know, and Sean's got this weird lanky range. It's hard to get
deceiving power. I'm not underestimating O'Malley for the record here, but I just think Cheeto's too big of a dog. Like, I don't see Chito Vera face planting after one hard shot, just like Sterling. I've seen him fold a couple times too. So
right,
and so honestly, truth be told, it's just time before Merab gets either one of them. So
Merab Dvalishvili is a problem.
That
man is going to run this division.
I'd be avoiding that guy like the plague if I was a coach or a fighter.
Yeah, how do you just can't. You just can't. Triple C is arguably one of the greatest fighters of all time. And he got dog walked.
Yeah, that was a blowout.
Merab's on a different level right now, ladies and gentlemen. And my favorite clip, and this is how I knew he's gonna be a dangerous man. I don't know if you remember I think it was last summer, but he went on Twitter and he had these videos of him and all these girls in this weird waterfall area, and they weren't the best looking girls. I'm not saying it's bad for him, but I just knew right then and there that this guy was gonna be a problem.
You knew his choice of girls. He's a tough bastard, eh?
You betcha. And some of his training videos are absolutely elite, man. This guy is one of the funniest clowns out there. I mean, he's just good.
He's underrated entertaining. I find him the most entertaining guy right now for me.
He is hilarious, but he is going to be a problem. Whoever wins this, I wouldn't want to face him. That's just all I'm going to say, because by the end of 2024 or middle of 2024, Merab Dvalishvili will be the champion of that division.
Agreed.
Now, in the co-main event, we got Dustin Poirier taking on Benoit Saint Denis. Now, this fight almost didn't happen. Dustin was saying that Benoit didn't get off he didn't sign the contract in time. I mean, I've heard this shit from Dustin Poirier before. I love the Diamond, but I feel like it was a cop-out. So with that being said, what are your thoughts on the whole matchup or the lead-up to this fight, man?
Hey, it might be the Irish guy in me. I'm never going to cheer for Dustin Poirier. But, truthfully, even if I liked him, Saint Benoit is a bad draw, and he's going to starch. I don't think Poirier makes it around.
Yeah, Poirier's been in tough. Now, against that, and people forget about this, that Conor fight, Conor was tagging him. Like he leaves that chin, and when you watch a Poirier fight, he likes to load left. Like he likes to throw that shot in a timely manner, but he keeps his hands very, very down, and that chin is exposed a
Man, he's
ton.
too busy tucking his shorts to.
Yeah. Also that. We were gonna make a drinking game the last time I was drinking, and we said, when Dustin pulls up his shorts, I think everybody has to take a drink. Like I think that's a thing. I mean, you'd be
I'm
folded by
nervous
the end
quick.
of the
I'll roll up
first.
my tie shorts, so I actually give him a little bit on that. Where like the more I go in the heart of the round, I'll be rolling my shorts up. But man, he's a whole nother level. That's the highest level of short rolling I know of.
Nose down because he can't breathe anymore. He goes nose down into the shorts every single
Yeah,
time.
every time.
I think Saint Denis is going to make a name for himself. I really do. I think
Agreed,
this is going to be one of
100%.
those. I think this is one of those fights where he's gonna, the whole world is obviously. I think the betting odds today was like minus 275 for Dustin Poirier. There's just no respect here for Benoit Saint Denis, and Benoit's been killing people. Like he's a monster in this division. Like he could almost fight. I honestly think he could move up another weight class. He's
Yeah,
just
he's a
that
big, he's
big.
a big 55er.
He's a big 55er. So I mean, there's been rumors and rumblings, and I can't confirm. I don't know, but I know that somebody was saying today and yesterday that the 165-pound division might be happening, which is really, really electric. I'm all for weight classes changing. There's got to be some.
They got to
not
do that.
too,
They should do the 175 jump, and they should just eliminate. There's this weird little flex, and it makes no sense. It's kind of still in the barbaric state of MMA, right?
Yeah, and I agree fully. And so I am excited to see who wins this. Now, we have a fight that's taking place at UFC 300 for the BMF title. Now, that's Justin Gaethje taking on Max Holloway at 155. That fucking fight is exciting as hell.
Okay,
And
for
that's why I
me,
said,
I'm saying this right now. Holloway picks him apart. Everyone thinks Holloway's getting beat up. For me, I think Holloway's picking Justin Gaethje apart.
Justin Gaethje, here's the thing, tough as they come, right? Like, and we know that fight against Dustin Poirier, that fight against Michael Chandler. I mean, the thing with Justin is his cardio's intense. He's insane. He can take a punch, but I agree with you. I think honestly, it's a bad matchup because Max's cardio and his boxing is just off the charts. Like it's not even comparable in that aspect. And Justin's got to be very, very careful.
He's just got this big hittable head too, and I don't think I've ever seen Max Holloway miss a punch.
Now, but my biggest concern as of late is that Max looks human again. Because for
Yeah.
a long time, Max Holloway was super human. That chin hadn't been touched. He hadn't been rocked.
You know who was looking superhuman until he beat Dustin Poirier?
True. That's so true. Yeah. Well put. But again, going back to this fight, my money right now at I'm looking at the live odds. Just put it on my phone. Plus 325 for Benjamin Saint Denis. I am hitting that, and I'm gonna go put $20 as soon as this is over because that man is
Attaboy.
winning the fight.
Yeah, that's
So
safe.
we
That's safe
agree.
bet.
We love that bet. And of course, this one's really, really cool. Now, every time the UFC usually has that third fight in the night, or the start off the card, it's usually that fan favorite fight. They love
Is
to
it
do this
Holland
shit.
and MVP?
It is Kevin Holland taking
That's
on
my
the
main
Dave-
event.
Yeah, and it's mine too. It's the fighters fight. It's the fan fight. It gets everybody fired up for those two mains. Now,
Andrew, that is a fight why everyone says 299 is better than 300 because everyone wanted that one on 300. That's a 300 fight.
I also left out that Peter Yan is on this card too, kicking off the card. So yeah, I wanted to go through these three fights first. Now, Kevin Holland, probably one of the most game guys of all time. This guy does not back down from a challenge. He's had some particularly highlight finishes. Jacare Souza, that was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. On bottom and fucking hits him with an uppercut and somehow dude's knocked out. I was like,
Talking
Holland,
to him
man.
the whole time too, man. Like he's got an underrated rise. Definitely.
But he is in for a matchup of his life. Michael Venom Page. Now, for those of you that might not be familiar with the name or you've been living under a rock, this man was cleaning people out in Bellator until he got knocked out. Of course that is. And then the hype train
And you've
kinda
seen him
sorta-
lose to Mike Perry, right?
Exactly, right? Yeah, and bare knuckle. So I will give
Yeah, I know
will
he
give
could
that.
kick and it was a different rule set and Mike Perry, that's Mike Perry's sport, but
I think Mike Perry has found his niche, and it's amazing, and I'm happy he's found his home. But that was never going to be MVP's world. That was
No.
never going to be where he goes. And, at the start of the year, Cole and I talked about MVP being the biggest free agent. And at the end of the last PFL card, not the most previous one, PFL versus Bellator, but the last PFL card, he actually came on to and into the cage.
Yeah.
And Cole and I were like, shit, Michael Venom Page's PFL. Like,
Yeah, that
huge
went a
pickup.
180, and Dana's announcement was just a lull. It was just nothing.
And then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, Michael Venom Page is signed with the UFC. I'm like, fucking wait a minute. Like, who's what? So I mean, this matchup, man, for fight fans everywhere, if you're tuning into UFC 299, I'm telling you, do not miss this fight, because these guys are both going to come forward with everything they got. This is going to be a brawl. Not going to be surprised if it doesn't go past the third round for a decision. But at the same time, MVP's leg kicks, man, are some of the nastiest shit that you're going to see inside of that octagon. And again, just one of those things. It's a super underrated signing that a lot of people really don't seem to be talking about.
I agree. Who do you got in that, Andrew?
Listen, I love Kevin Holland. I am a Kevin Holland fan till the day I die, because I don't think there's another game fighter like him who just, no matter the matchup, no matter the timeline, this guy is literally like, he would fight. I remember this is probably about 2-3 months ago. He finished his fight and somebody was like, I need an opponent. And right away, Kevin Holland's like, I'm there. I'm your guy.
He ain't fucking
right
joking. He'll be in there. That guy. He's one of my favorite fighters, man, to watch. I like his mentality. I like his style. I like his angles. I actually think he's going to starch MVP.
You think so?
I think they couldn't have gave MVP a worse matchup. I think they could have, because at least he's going to stand with him. Like, obviously could have gave him someone that's not going to complement his style, but Kevin Holland's going to beat him. I'm very confident in it.
That right hand, if MVP isn't careful, because MVP is also one of those guys that fights with his hands fucking down. Like, and
it is going to be a guy who teaches Muay Thai. I hope my students don't watch that fight, because they're going to come in here and just everyone's hands are going to be at their waist, dancing and trying different stuff and probably talking to each other. So.
Yeah, no, and I mean, here's the thing. I agree with you. I think Kevin Holland gets this thing finished. I think he finishes it with the right hand. It's not the debut that Michael Venom Page is going to want. I think it's a bad matchup for Michael Venom Page. He's going to get paid no matter what we say. I think he's at the UFC for at least 3 fights. So if
is that what he
does
signed?
Lose, yeah, I think it's a 3-fight deal. So even if he does lose this, he'll be bounced back. He'll be a headliner for a UFC fight night in the future for sure. And again, if he ends up winning this fight, holy shit, that's huge. Like that puts him into the top 15 right away. Like, I think last time I checked, Kevin Holland was number 11. So that would probably shoot him to that area, which is big for MVP. Especially because, let's face it, guys who have come over from Bellator haven't exactly had it easy, or have had a good route. I mean, i.e. Michael Chandler, right? Like, when he came over, he starched Dan Hooker and we're like, let's goddamn go. And then he took on matchups that just weren't ready for him, and the whole Conor McGregor thing and him. I hope that fight happens, because I think that's the best matchup that they can make for both guys. But yeah, man,
dude, Conor, here's my own Irish prediction. Conor fights Nate Diaz in the Spears, never fights Michael Chandler. Chandler's wasting his time.
Michael Chandler's 55 years old.
Yeah, like, I feel bad for Chandler. Like, Conor's too smart to fight him for his comeback fight. Like, Conor's never going to be the same, let's be real. He knows that. He's a smart enough guy on the sport. His pulse is on it. No matter how much cocaine he sniffs to get his confidence up, he's going to know he's not the same guy, right? And it's like, him and Nate makes more sense. Everyone wants to see that fight more. Why would you fight Michael Chandler, who's a way harder fight? I'm not saying Chandler is unbeatable, but I just think it's a way better matchup and more Conor style, and then probably Conor boxers after that.
Yeah, I think Conor gets his ass whooped if he actually takes on Michael Chandler. That's my honest opinion. Because
I'll never say that out loud, but you'll never hear me argue with that point.
It's the good Irishman in you right there. No, and it's tough because Conor has struggled notoriously against wrestlers, right? And if Michael Chandler actually got to display him being a wrestler for the first time in the UFC, it would be huge, because I mean, realistically, this guy, people forget, is an NCAA fucking wrestler. Like, this, he's very legitimate. He's very, very legitimate, but he hasn't had to use it in the UFC because every one of his fights has been a stand and bang finish, right?
And I think finally he's had all these exciting fights. I think he was banking his boring fight for Conor. So it's like, he'll fight him smart. He won't mess around, get him tired, and then he'll probably stand with him.
and watch the chin, because let's face it, when Charles Oliveira absolutely rocked him, he was so goddamn
Oh,
gone.
and Patricky Pitbull, that's what everyone was telling me. Like, are you worried about the fight? I'm like, man, I've seen Chandler get dropped first shot by smaller guys than Conor McGregor, who hit less hard than Conor. But
Patricky Pitbull
I
is
just,
a
man,
monster.
take it from a 39-year-old guy who's debating fighting again. It's like you got to gauge your body, and it's like it's hard to come back. It's like, and at our weight class, what is it? I think it's like everyone 170 down. Anyone under 35 and older is not winning their fights anymore. It's just
No.
the young. You can get away with your age difference at a little heavier weight classes. At the smaller ones, it's speed, it's timing, and that's what Conor prided himself on. And it's like I think he's more right now. He's on cocaine and fucking steroids, and that's
Getting ready for that Roadhouse debut.
exactly. He's more worried about taking videos riding exercise bikes than he is actually fighting. Right, so.
La da 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 da. No, I absolutely love Mystic Mac, man. He's one of my favorite of all time. He's good for the game. He's good for the sport. I agree with you. I think priorities have changed. He keeps being a family man. It seems like Dee's popping out kids every time I turn on my social media. I didn't even know she was pregnant the last time, and all of a sudden he's like, I got a new kid. I'm like, that's like their fifth in like a year. What's going on? But man, it's so amazing to see, you know, like, again, there's a lot of names that are going to be coming over. I mean, the whole Bellator PFL merger, I don't think is going to sit well with a lot of guys. I think it's going to expose the money side of things, where people are saying, yeah, okay, Bellator and PFL sure have a lot of money, but you are going to see some very hungry guys in that PFL Bellator market that are going to start making their way over. And I really hope one guy in particular makes his way after this weekend's performance when I saw PFL versus Bellator, and that is Vadim Nemkov. Holy shit, could he be a problem in the UFC? I'm just saying, out of anybody's performances this weekend, I was blown away by Vadim Nemkov.
Well, it's funny because I've been making all these bold predictions, and I was telling everyone, watch, because I'm a big Japanese MMA guy. Love Ryzen, was obsessed with Dream and Pride, all that stuff. So I've never missed a Ryzen. So even early Ryzens, I remember Bruno and Vlad fighting, or Nemkov fighting, and it being me thinking like Bruno won the fight, and then watching him improve, I'm just thinking like, oh, okay, he's going to start him. He's doing it at heavyweight, and boy, I just sat there. Yeah, Nemkov looked good, man. I agree with you.
Yeah, I'd love to see Nemkov go to the UFC. I think it'd be good for the division. I think it's good for the heavyweight
So
division.
he free contract now?
I don't know what they were talking about it, and I remember Chael saying something about him being on a very friendly deal for PFL.
Gotcha.
So I wonder if it's a fight or two. Uncle Chael's one of the best.
He's got the best backhanded comments in the business.
So good, dude. And just like that entire fight. He's like, I'm not going to say anything about Bruno, even though I train with him. And he was just like, just so great with analysis and all that other stuff. I would love to have him do more cards. But, okay, so we're both rolling Kevin Holland against MVP.
You're going Holland too?
I'm going Holland.
Attaboy, okay.
I just think a little part of me, just like you, it's just that bad matchup against the wrong opponent where if he gets starched early, he's in a lot of trouble because Kevin Holland has nasty power in that right hand. And he's lengthy.
And there's no way Holland, MVP's not getting in Holland's head.
Not a fucking chance. The best person in the world couldn't get. You could trash talk Kevin Holland all day, and somehow he's still going to live rent free in yours. Like, that's just who Kevin Holland is. But UFC 299 is an absolute banger of a card. Bro, I want to get you out for UFC 300 in Saskatoon. I'd love to have you in the Green Dojo out there.
Yeah, I'd love that, dude. Where do you guys watch my viewing parties?
Yeah, so what we're going to be doing, and so while I have you on here, it's kind of cool to announce this, but throughout the entire evening of UFC 300, April 13th in Saskatoon at the Canadian Brewhouse West location, we're actually having our own little private party for the first 60 people. Now, that has been reduced now to the next 20 people. That's how much this has gotten some traction. So we got 20 people left for our private party. We actually have there's an upstairs part of it that we have officially booked off. Our sponsors, FKN, are going to be in town. Rest When Dead Clothing is going to be in town. Excuse me, Sandman Boxing System is also going to be in town. So,
my boys.
Again, yes, absolutely. So it would be amazing to have you out there. We're watching the prelims because Cody Garbrandt and Devison Fierro are kicking off the prelims.
Dude, I love Cody Garbrandt, and I'm calling he's going to win that one.
Yeah,
everyone's counting him out, but
No. I'm rolling Cody Garbrandt because that is my boy through and through. But that's what I'm saying. This card is insane, people, and you want to get your reservations booked in now if you are going to book a table. I was talking to the manager. Cole and I met with the manager out there. it's kind of a weird situation. So if the weather's really nice, they can open up the entire patio upstairs. So we would go from a 300 seating capacity place to a 600. So
Let me guess, you guys are planning that out before the last couple of days, right?
yeah, we're gonna be we're looking at the Weather Channel, going, please, please, please. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we can guarantee that at least 300 seats will be taken at the Canadian Brewhouse. We have a shit ton of giveaways throughout the entire evening. Man, we've got sponsors that are just dropping shirts, kind of like the sweet one that I'm wearing right now from Rest When Dead. This is a Cody Deaner TNA wrestling t-shirt from Rest When Dead. They've got a couple of great TNA wrestlers on their roster right now. They've got Crazy Steve, which is awesome.
I love Crazy Steve. Isn't he blind?
Yeah, a little part of him is blind. That is a correct statement. Jeudy Threat, of course, in the women's Impact division, or I guess the TNA Knockouts division now. It's all changed again, so I'm trying to figure all of that out. And, of course, Cody Deaner, who's in a feud right now with Khan, which is pretty cool because of the Ascension from WWE, which is cool. But nonetheless, we got so many giveaways. We want you guys to be there, and it'd be an honor to have the Green Dojo representatives there. We'll save you a table.
Yeah, keep in touch about that. I'll definitely let you know. We're going to plan on having a 300 party, so.
Yeah. No, come on out. Be a part of the party. Let's have you guys be there, you know? One thing that you can predict that will always happen, and this is how we're going to end all of this off, the road to WrestleMania. Now, you've got friends in the industry. I'm not going to say who. He might be pretty popular with the Canadian realms. Might have a last name that's pretty famous as well. But nonetheless, the road to WrestleMania has officially begun. We just finished the Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia. Man, what a scene, by the way. You don't even have to like wrestling to appreciate the fans that come out to this thing. 60,000 fans.
WrestleMania is WrestleMania, man. It's pretty crazy. Like, WrestleMania is one of a kind, you know. Like I'm super pumped. I've never. Here's a true statement. I'm as old as WrestleMania, and I've never missed a WrestleMania.
I've never missed one.
Neither.
It sounds probably pretty crazy, but I have never missed a WrestleMania. My brother and I have this ongoing tradition that no matter where we are in the world, we will watch it together no matter what. Like the year that like Edge and Daniel Bryan, they had that triple threat match, like we were losing our minds. Like it's just fun. WrestleMania is fun. And we've got some crazy storylines that are going into WrestleMania right now. Who would have predicted if I would have told you at the start of 2024 that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would be coming back to wrestle, not just coming back to be a mouthpiece, which he's done every now and again, but to come back to WrestleMania and actually be involved in the main event of WrestleMania 40 with the Bloodline, put the ones up for Roman Reigns. Would you have guessed The Rock was going to come back?
No, so it's pretty crazy. It's kind of funny to watch this whole kind of like wrestling always repeats itself. I've been watching it long enough to watch it have these little cycles and it repeats itself. So now we're basically WrestleMania 10. It's the people kind of revolted and they're trying to put Lex Luger and people revolted and they went with Bret Hart. WrestleMania 20, people are kind of revolted. Not really liking the product. They picked the best two in-ring guys, Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. They kind of revolted and then that's who they said are their champions. Same thing, WrestleMania 30. Everyone's revolting, doing the same thing. People have had enough. They want Daniel Bryan. Here we are, 40 years now. Same thing. They're trying to just shove The Rock and Roman Reigns down our throat, and the people revolt, and they want to see Cody. So I just love seeing that little factor. It takes us 10 little years of watching this old man play with this billionaire man play with his human toys, and then people say, enough. This is here. This is supposed to be our show. So every 10 years, people have enough, and they reset wrestling and tell us this is the guy, and I really like seeing it.
And now we've got that whole power figure because Dwayne has become the TKO and Endeavor board of directors. So he's got that authority figure in him, which is also really cool because let's remember a time when the authority and Triple H were these big spearheaded figures. But now it's so different because of the bloodline tie-in that The Rock has where he can just walk in and be like, hey, family, put up them ones. But
yeah, I love where they're taking it, man. And at first I felt that you could just see like Rock didn't know what to do, but it was almost kind of like the heel turn with Hogan way back in the day where he goes full Hollywood Rock on us. And now he's just literally bringing this back, but a whole nother element to it now. He's got this commission and his power figure. And that's honestly felt super stale. I felt in the last year's of 30 figures, but now with The Rock, it has this realism. It feels like when Vince did it in like 98 with Austin,
Right.
and it feels way more authentic, and I love it.
Yeah, no, and honestly, you gave a name there. Like again, WrestleMania 20, probably my favorite WrestleMania because Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit were the two best wrestlers at that time that needed those titles, and that embrace at the end. Like who would have guessed that all these years later that we wouldn't have those guys? You know what I mean? And we're probably the one podcast, and I don't give a shit. Chris Benoit is one of the greatest wrestlers to ever exist. Not a great human being, but one of the best in-ring wrestlers of all friggin' time. So to see.
So here's the thing: when I'm down in the dungeon, like training in the dungeon, this is Chris Benoit's time. It is 2003, 2004 when he wins his title run, and he like does much. He gets TJ and Harry both hired, Natty, all those guys. So Chris Benoit, I know he has this big negative stuff, but for me, before he went nuts, he did a lot of stuff for Canadian wrestlers. Edge, all those guys. He's the leader of the Canadian Mafia. He embeds this whole other Canadian generation, and they go in, and they all go. Obviously, all that stuff with Benoit goes down, and it's a tragedy, but honestly, he went crazy. And it's like, it's a sacrifice he made, and I'm not making excuses for what he did, but like, CTE is real. And there's no way Chris Benoit was normal. Because I've seen him at functions. I remember at Stu's funeral, I met him. I met him at different things for Bret Hart had this ceremony thing that he went to, and he was super nice. He bought our whole table, paid for our whole dinner. He was a super good guy, man. So it's just like, I mean, obviously he's different. I'm like talking about this guy that killed his family, but it's like truthfully every interaction I've seen him, and he helped a lot of people I know. So for me, Chris Benoit is Chris Benoit.
Yeah, and I mean, you brought up a really good point with that entire thing, and it's something that I've always wanted to talk about, but not a lot of people, dwell into that, and they're scared. I'm not scared. I'm never going to be scared to talk about this. But like you brought a great point in. Natty, one of probably a GOAT in this division.
The GOAT, the boat, buddy, the boat.
He is the GOAT. In fact, you bring in Tyson, you bring in Harry. Like, I mean, like you said, that was one of the most successful tag teams in the early 2000s. I mean, that was
also brought in Rick Victor. Victor. You got to admit, there's this whole.
But I go back to even WCW when he brought the likes of Chris Jericho over, when he brought Eddie Guerrero over. Like, if not for Chris and Dean Malenko, really, there's probably not some of your favorite wrestlers. Edge came from WCW. Like, there were so many great Canadian talents that were just kind of swept under the rug at WCW, where they were like mid guys who got brought over, and you think about the careers that they had because Chris was able to get them in the door. So I will never say anything bad about Chris the wrestler. And again, Chris the person at the end, terrible tragedy. Again, I don't have to dwell too much into that. But honest to God, one of the greatest in-ring performers. But that brings this back into WrestleMania 40, where you have one of the greatest in-ring performers in The Rock. Now, did he look completely out of gas the first time that he made his attack on Jinder Mahal a couple of months ago? He was sweating. The boy was so out of shape. And I mean, he's also 100 pounds bigger than he was back in his Rock dominant era. I mean, steroids and good eating will do that for you. But again,
plastic surgery, the guy doesn't even have real muscles.
He looks. But he just was sweating profusely, and I'm like, uh-oh. But I had chills, and that's what wrestling's about. You hear that anthem music, like and you just immediately are like goosebumps, right? Like, holy shit, that's my childhood coming back. So that's big for guys like you and I, with the crowd that now respects Roman, what he's been able to do in the 1,300 days as a champion, which is insane in its own, especially in modern day wrestling.
Dude, I love Roman Reigns' title run. I know I got ADD and I jump over. You give me a little fact and I do these little things.
No, I love this.
I love these title runs. Everyone, they threw these belts around like the mid-2000s, the PG era, I'll call it. Like, a title means nothing. They absolutely destroy every value of a title. So watching Gunther have this like iconic reign, watching Roman Reigns have this like Bruno Sammartino, like, I can't believe this reign has went on as long with the way that everyone's attention span is. But guess whose attention span wanted this? Wrestling fans. And I love seeing it.
It's massive. We haven't seen it since the like of again Bruno Sammartino and or Hulk Hogan, right? Like we're venturing on like 1,300 and some days. I think the record is 1,369 days. Bruno Sammartino was a champion, or Hulk Hogan was a champion. I think we're gonna see that go on. And I know it's probably an unpopular opinion.
Oh man, if Cody doesn't complete the story, dude, I'm gonna just love the heat. I'm gonna love the heat.
Oh, dude, if Cody doesn't finish this after being the
and Cody's nuts, man. Cody loves that old school heat. He might be okay with losing. He thinks it's 1981 and people still want to see this long story. Like, so he might do it.
I'm telling you, Cody loses at WrestleMania. We're going to get heel Cody, and I cannot wait. Like, that switch is going to be the Monday night on Raw. Like, I can't get it done. Look out. I don't care who it is. Seth Rollins, if he wins, or Drew McIntyre, I'm turning on you immediately. Because I know the storyline probably would have got finished if CM Punk doesn't get hurt. Because no matter what, CM Punk was going to take on Rollins. That was always going to be the matchup because those two just generally hate each other. Like, that's a legitimate life beef. They don't like one another.
I don't think anyone likes CM Punk, dude. From what I heard, I don't think anyone likes CM Punk. I don't think he's got a friend in the world.
I mean, people must, because he has come back, and now the likes of Seth Rollins has started to enjoy him. He's doing promos with Cody again. You know, like, it just seems like he was very egotistical. There's no way to deny that. Phil Brooks is his own worst enemy. But especially when it comes to wrestling. Look what happened in AEW. That was a fucking disaster. So at the end of the day, Phil Brooks will be his own worst enemy, so it's totally up to Phil Brooks on what he's going to do. And if you don't know who Phil Brooks is, that's CM Punk's real goddamn name. So, yeah, I would love to see Roman continue on. I know that Cody's going to win this thing. And because of the story, Cody has to finish it. They've done everything to make him literally the biggest face in the world. Like, there's nothing Cody can't say right now that's not absolute fire. Like,
he's over, man. I love him seeing how over he is.
This is Daniel Bryan over, right? Like, the yes
That's what I'm talking about, wrestling resetting himself. The people will pick.
Oh, I thought Kofi Kingston when he had his run. Like, this is what I'm talking about with wrestling. They missed it last year with Sami Zayn. I will say that.
100%.
They completely missed the boat with Sami Zayn not being the one to dethrone him, because the momentum on that chair shot, that was the biggest pop I've ever heard in wrestling. Like, people have been waiting for that to happen.
So my wrestling coach, Matt Fedler, I got to give a shout out to him because he's also my pro wrestling coach. I honestly know, like, I watch pro wrestling, but I got Dojo every night. So I catch the odd bit. I miss a lot of live broadcasts. Even though I was telling you before, man, my wrestling knowledge isn't what it used to be, right? But it's like my wrestling coach, Matt, he tells me the pulse. So he was just telling me the Sami Zayn, Sami Zayn this, Sami Zayn that. And I hadn't watched because this was like right in the heart when his little build-up. I'm like nose deep in building the dojo, so I'm not watching pro wrestling too much. Right. And I tuned it in, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe, Matt is right. Like, wow, this is like a whole nother level over. Then I start tuning in and watching the little Montreal run, and it was, wow. It was incredible. I'm glad I caught the end of it.
Yeah, and I'm happy him and KO got to win the tag team titles, at least on the first night of WrestleMania against the Usos, which was great. I mean, that's kind of what they needed. But I still think that Sammy should have been the champion at some point in that run, because that is the most over wrestler they've ever had in the last 10 years. Again, that's going back to Daniel Bryan. Now, going back to this, Cody wins it. I guarantee it probably happens, just because it's the feel-good story. His dad, it's been brought up multiple times. Dusty never got the job done, and here's this chance now for Cody to become that figure. Why not do it at WrestleMania 40 after you made him lose last year after the Rumble? I just don't think Cody was ready last year. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, Roman's still the right guy.
Dude, Cody loves his dad so much. Part of me thinks he doesn't want to be better than his dad. So don't be surprised if Cody never wins the title.
Not surprised. I would not surprised again if we go into the night after Mania and we see something happen where Cody just flips and it's.
When you said that, Andrew, it's funny. I'm not the only. I was like, he's not wrong. That could happen.
Oh, dude, I love heel Cody. Dashing Cody Rhodes is maybe one of my favorite wrestlers to ever be on the scene. He was so bad and so good all at the same time.
Everything he did, man. Cody's a pro, dude. Even like, you got to think he's knee deep in a Stardust character. Dusty passes away. He could have went on this like what he does now, But I remember talking to TJ, like, why doesn't Cody do this crazy like heel run? He's like, dude, he wants to see Stardust through because that's how he rolls.
Stardust. What a comical character.
Right?
People
So
forget that
you got to give
sometimes
Cody. It's
that
like
guy
awesome to
exists.
see this turnaround, and it's like, don't. Cody's okay with being Cody Rhodes. That's all I got to say.
1,000%. I mean, even you saw it when he went to New Japan and became part of the Bullet Club, and people forget about that when he was a heel for a little while too. So it's a cool story. I hope it goes well for Cody. No matter what, we're all intrigued. We're all going to watch. There's no way anybody misses the main event. One little thing I think is going to happen. Call me crazy, but I think that handshake that him and The Rock had when it first happened and it first went down, and The Rock came back to talk to Roman about being the head of the table, I think a little thing was kind of set for us wrestling fans that you need to maybe not sleep on, but I think The Rock turns on Roman Reigns and goes back into the star life where we don't see him again, but he has that WrestleMania moment where he turns on Roman and Cody finishes the story.
And then next year they do you're not wrong on that one too, Andrew, because they want to wrestle each other. The Rock's been setting it up on his fucking television show on Young Rock.
And again, who's building the product behind the scenes is a board of director.
But here's the thing.
Rock Johnson.
Back to them waiting and letting WWE not jump in when it's hot. Rock and Roman should have been last year.
Should have been.
Cody, whoever it was, should have been the other way. But that's just me booking my own stuff.
Agreed fully. So we got another one on that matchup card. Becky Lynch, who's probably, into the stratosphere over a million times, taking on the girl who's responsible for the women's title run that has been almost a year now and doesn't look like
Rhea's having this crazy run.
It looks like she's never going to lose. They've booked every major star against Rhea Ripley, and she has the Roman effect right now. Like, not one person beats Mommy.
And let's be honest, Becky's stale.
Oh, she's so stale. Thank you.
Like, even how they're kind of revolted and doing the whole Liv Morgan thing. That's the same thing about wrestling fans resetting. Women's wrestling has its own little niche now, or its own little following. So they're resetting. They don't want to see Becky Lynch. They want to see Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. And they're two people that have stood out. So same thing. Becky's stale. No way she's winning. That's just my honest opinion. And it's the wrong move if they do.
What I was really hoping for, and this is just me being the nerd that I am, I wish there was a women or Money in the Bank, so that at WrestleMania we could have a moment where, okay, yeah, sure, we got this buildup of the man versus Rhea, and then Rhea wins, but somebody like Liv Morgan is able to cash in and we get what we wanted, right? Like that was kind of what I was hoping for, just from the pure entertainment standard of WWE. But again, I agree with you. The women's division has its own little niche, right? And they brought back the likes of Naomi from TNA, right? She's back into the fourfold. They got names coming up left, right, and center. Trish Stratus had a run this year. Lita had a run this year. Like, it's just like, what is going on? You know what I mean? So
I'm a guy hanging on to the 90s harder than your average bloke. But, like, they got to develop more stars. We can't be having these old people coming back too much longer. Like, let's do the Austin. If Austin's coming back, let's get him out of the way. Let's get the Trish, all these leaders. I can't take any more of them. It's like, nothing makes me feel older than watching people old that I used to love perform. As much as I like hanging on to nostalgia and my generation, I'm like, I got to see some new generations, some new bloods. We got to see some new stars.
That's like every time I see Edge now. I guess not Edge, it's Adam Copeland. But every time I see Adam Copeland now, I'm like, man, you are so old.
Dude, here's my other little thing. AEW grosses me out. I don't watch it. It's terrible. It's like, I don't want to watch it. I might tune in for Sting's last match because, like, that's my guy. I love Sting. But it's like, I can't make it through. I've truthfully tried to watch AEW pay-per-views and never made it through one. Not once.
Neither have I. No, and I agree with you. Again, the pro wrestling fan of me was so excited when AEW opened up because I was like, okay, they got the Jacksons, right? They've got Cody Rhodes. They've got guys, Chris Jericho. They've got guys in place that can build a roster. But Tony Khan got money hungry quick. And it's not taking a shot at him at all. If I had that kind of money, Jacksonville Jaguar money, I'd be spending it too to compete with the guys that are over there. But every time a free agent popped up, I don't even want to know how much they signed these guys for, but it didn't last long. Look at the Hardys. The Hardys are still fucking wrestling, and they're way past their prime. Like,
bro, can someone stop Jeff Hardy from wrestling? Is it just me? Like,
Somebody get Ric Flair out of the ring.
Oh, it's just they're good. And Tony, I
Last,
made my comment about watching Vince play with his human toys. Now we're literally just watching some other coked out little billionaire play with human toys.
it's
It's
so
just
true, dude.
I
You
don't
know,
want to
and
watch Tony Khan play with his wrestling toys.
no, and it's
Playing them
bad.
serious.
Like, and that's why I have always enjoyed TNA and or Impact a little bit more than I will AEW.
What's going on with
Until
TNA? They're having some little revolt though, aren't they? Because of Demore.
yeah, so I would love to get Cody on the podcast. I'm gonna try to get Cody on here. Obviously, again, Cody Diener. I would love to get him on the podcast to talk about it a little bit. But from what I understand, is Eric Young at the end of one of the most recent TNA tapings went out to the fans. I actually saw the clip myself. It's about $1.45, and he just kind of explains to him that listen, like in this business, change is inevitable. Like something is going to happen that we don't like, right? You'll lose your favorite wrestler. Your favorite champion won't be a champion anymore. And this is the kind of guy Eric Young is. I fucking love Eric Young. But it spoke to me, the character of him bringing all the wrestlers out to be like, listen, I know that you, the wrestling fan, don't understand what's going on with Scott D'Amore behind the scenes, but we as the wrestlers do, and we want to put on the best product for you guys, no matter what the situation is with Scott. Now, I don't have it on sources. I've only seen the rumors, and I've heard the Twitter rumblings and all that other kind of stuff. Is it Twitter or is it X? Who cares? But the only rumblings that I have seen is that Scott D'Amore might be back.
Gotcha.
Now, and rightfully so. And here's my issue with how that all went down. He approached the people who now own TNA, now that it's back to its rightful form instead of Impact Wrestling. And from my understanding is he asked to buy the business. So
Gotcha.
when he didn't get that and they went in a different route, I think it was sour grapes and maybe some animosity between the two sides. And I'm not gonna pretend like I even know what goes on behind the scenes in that kind of situation. But honest to goodness, man, I do hope for everybody's sake Scott D'Amore is part of the roster. It is a better world when he is in the vicinity. Scott D'Amore is a great Canadian through and through. So I really do hope he's part of the brand going forward. But yeah, man, the last one we're going to get into before I let you go, I said we were going to be about 45 minutes. We've been a little longer than that. We've been having fun here tonight. Of course, we got Seth Rollins taking on Drew McIntyre, the winner of the men's Elimination Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber match, as we saw last week. All right, give it to me. Is Rollins the man still, or does Drew McIntyre finally get his roses in front of a live audience for carrying the WWE through COVID? Oh, we got you on a mute. We got you on a mute, brother. You might have hit the mute button. I'm not sure. No sound. No sound there. You might just have to press the unmute button. I'm not quite sure there. It happens every now and again, folks. Little technical difficulties, but nonetheless, of course, we're talking about Seth Rollins taking on Drew McIntyre, and we're going to get Cory's opinion on this in a very short amount of time. Not sure what's going on. Sometimes the program will happen where it happens like this, and we're just waiting. We're going to see what happens. All right, here's what we're going to do. Cory, I'm going to roll with this for you because I know you're not going to – I'm not sure what's going on with the mic. Dude, we absolutely love you. Thank you so much for coming on here, dude. This was an absolute treat for us. We appreciate it. You guys go follow the Green Dojo. Follow my guy. We're going to be pushing amateur MMA fighting. See that tattoo, the Green Dojo? We're pushing amateur fighting to the stratosphere. We will have a commission this year, and we're going to work down together. And I'll see you at UFC 300, brother. Thank you so much to the Irish virus himself. That is, of course, Cory Chambers. Cheers, brother. All right, that's going to wrap things up for us tonight. With that being said, here's what's going to happen. You guys know it. I know it. And I have talked about it enough. Next weekend, PAWFC is going to be taking place March 9th, Calgary, Alberta, at the Nutrien Events Center. It is live on pay-per-view. You can check that out at million.co. I will be there doing ringside commentary. Once again, this is my third trip with these guys. I am absolutely excited as hell for this. There is 14 fights on this card. It starts at 4 p.m., goes all the way until 10, if not later. This event is crazy stacked. There's some great names in there. Lexi Rook is coming back from England. Andy Wynn, she was on the first card as well as the second, and now making her way back into the Palladium for the third. This is a great event. I can't wait to be joined by some great names. If you haven't got your tickets yet, do so, because you're also going to see the likes of Chuck Liddell, who's going to be there. That's right, the Iceman himself. You're going to have a chance to meet him. I was just watching a rerun of Blue Mountain State the other day, and I forgot how awesome Chuck Liddell was in that, eating penis gobblers. If you haven't seen that episode, I suggest you do, with Sammy, one of the best. Also, BMS got the green light. We're getting a new BMS season, so got to talk about that a little bit. Hell yeah, folks. Alan Richardson is coming back as Thad Castle. This is the world we live in. This is what we wanted. Chris Cyborg will also be there, of course, behind... Oh, other way. There it is. Right there. I got to meet her a couple of years ago. One of the biggest badasses in the world. She is, of course, front and center right now in all the headlines. I cannot wait to talk to her about maybe the chance of her getting into a boxing fight or a MMA fight with Clarissa Shields. We'll get into that, and I hope I get to meet her and talk about it a little bit more. And, of course, the beautiful and talented Felicia Spencer, who was at one point the #1 contender for the UFC title on this side. Over there. There she is. She is also going to be joining us on ringside commentary. This is her third event with us. And I am so excited to have her on board and work with her, as she is one of the best professionals in the game, one of the best voices out there, and, of course, Ryan Ballantyne centering it for us. But that is going to wrap things up for us, guys. Again, thank you so much to our sponsors, as you've seen going across the bottom this entire time. FKN Ale. Make sure to check out the FKN Ales and the FKN Booms. I'm not going to say that the Boom's the best beer in the world, but I might be biased. And, of course, Sandman Boxing System and Rest When Dead Apparel. Of course, I'm wearing the hat. Got the shirt on right now. restwhendead.ca. Make sure to go check them out. Also, while you're at it, ceofit.ca. Any of my people that go to the gym, you are going to want to check them out, because you can get shipping directly to your door and prices better than the other competitors. ceofit.ca. Aaron and the crew, congratulations on your brand new Hustle Culture gym in Moose Drive. If you guys have a chance and you're out in that area, make sure to go check it out. Thank you so much for joining us once again, guys. We are the Boomtown Pod. This is Season 4, Episode 10. We will be back after UFC 299.